I work in an awesome company culture. Does Mom notice?
This podcast is brought to you by Arcamed, fast and focused design and manufacturing.
I'm Greg Maurer, founder and owner of Arcamed.
And I'm Caroline Squatrito, Talent Engagement Specialist. We are on a journey to grow, learn, and gain expertise in small to mid-size company culture. Join us. Greg, what's the question of the day?
Well, the question of the day is, how does a company culture impact you outside of the office? And we are bringing on our Chief Executive Officer, John Desalvo, and your mom, Lori,
Yes.
is going to share her observations on how you might have changed over the last few years and what the role of our company culture has played in that change. Are you excited?
I'm nervous overall. I don't I don't like being the center of attention, but I'm interested to hear what my mom has to say. So
So
let's
am
dive
I.
in.
So Lori is our special guest today. Lori is the mother of Caroline, my esteemed colleague and co-host, and the one who does all the heavy lifting here on the podcast. Lori, thanks for coming on to chat with us.
I'm excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
And also is John DeSalvo, the chief executive of Arcamed. And John's here because he's been a mentor to Caroline and had such a outsized impact on Caroline's professional trajectory. And so maybe John could kick it off and start the discussion.
Yeah, thanks, Greg. Also very excited to be here, and it's going to be an exciting topic today. And there is nothing that Caroline enjoys more than people talking about her and her being able to listen to it. So I'm really looking forward to how this podcast goes today.
So, John, you've had a couple kids at the firm here over the years, right? I've seen that Dominic really, I think, discovered a passion here that he might not have, maybe he would have, but maybe he would not have discovered that passion, but had it not been for Arkham, and Julia also spent some time here. So you have seen uh, the amount of development you put into your employees and how that has translated into growth. And also you've seen your own kids, worked with your own kids. So uh, tell me what your impressions are when you look at your employees and see their development and their growth versus also seeing your kids here at work and maybe just share with us the impact that work experience has had for their growth.
Um, I guess I'd start by saying I truly did not understand the potential of my children's work or work ethic until they were in an environment where they were getting paid for their performance, right? So it was a true job. And you touched on it, Greg, is that and part of my belief has always been whether it's young adults at a high school level or a college level, giving them an opportunity to be a part of a team and try to find a path that fits them. Um, I know your kids are going to be coming of the age, Greg, and my kids are at that college level, and Lori's kids are now beyond that college level. But uh, one of the most exciting things is when you're at that age, thinking you know what you want to do the rest of your life is just crazy, right? Or thinking you really know what's out there is also crazy. Other than what you've been influenced to through family members or through friends of the family, or stories that you may have heard. Now, the younger generation can see a lot of different jobs through YouTube videos and other things that are out there that we were not privy to. Um, but but when I truly dive into using Dom as the first example, I had no idea this was something he would have had a passion about. I had no idea that he even had a skill set to be good at it. I think he also wondered where the path would take him, but without having that opportunity or starting here in high school, I think it really directed him in a college path and has really driven him to get some of the best grades that he's ever gotten. When I think about my daughter, I think about the work ethic that she comes with, being a very detail oriented person, but also really never working for anyone different than people that she may have watched their children or done some odd jobs. But getting that first working for that first leader, them being different from me or other people that they had worked for in the past, having that different reporting structure. There's just so much to be learned, and I think it's so valuable to young adults to be given that opportunity and to decide whether manufacturing or the manufacturing pathway could be a possibility for them.
So tell me, just go a little bit deeper there, John, on how the specific cultural norms of Archimed. You mentioned work ethic a couple times,
Mhm.
and we require people to work hard while they're here and to contribute and to be team players. And we also provide a lot of support and a lot of structure so that people can find fulfillment and reach their goals and be their best selves at work. And so, you might have hinted that you needed when you asked them to take out the trash, you saw one version of work ethic, but you were surprised, pleasantly surprised, or maybe just happy, pleasantly happy to see how hard they worked when they were in a different environment other than just hearing mom and dad tell them to do chores around the house.
Absolutely, and the power's in working for others, right? No matter what, I'm always going to be dad first, regardless, right? So me, sort of checking myself out from that, and still playing the role of dad and giving guidance or helping them through what may be a conflict or something like that, or how to effectively communicate in a professional environment really just gave me a different role and a different feel of how to be a dad of a young adult that's in the workforce. I'm sure that Caroline could speak to how her relationship with her dad or her mother has changed as she has gotten into the workforce. I'm sure they have a lot of opinions about what she might do right or what they think she's doing wrong. But again, when you're that person and you report to someone else, it's more about what that relationship is becoming. It, and that can't be taught. There is no teaching for that. And I think Archimed gives a mechanism though where we show that level of care, we show that level of value to every ounce of the organization, regardless of what your position is. And you have that voice, but also them knowing that that voice may not be offered in every other environment you go into, but it doesn't mean that yours is taken away. It may, you may have to communicate it differently. You may have to approach it differently. My daughter's taken on a new job at college working for a massage place, and now she's learning how to deal with disgruntled customers, and she's learning how to deal with COVID situations, and she's learning how to deal with complaints, and we have a lot of discussions around how difficult that can be, or how to approach it from their point of view, and how to show more of a respect factor from the beginning about how difficult the current times are, and how people then aren't as angry with you when you can understand where they're coming from. It's just a powerful thing. And what I love about what we do at Arcamed is we tell people from the beginning, you're going to come here, you're going to try this out, and if you don't like it, just tell us. We're not going to get upset with you. We've had employees that have been here anywhere from 4 hours to a couple days to a couple weeks or a couple months, and it's just not a fit, and that's okay, right? I would rather you say this isn't for me than stay in a situation that, and we've had other podcasts where you're not happy or you don't have value or you don't have that feeling of fulfillment, and it won't be for everyone, and that's all right. And I don't think we'll ever see uh my daughter back here. I don't think she has any desire to be at Arcamed. I think it was a great summer experience for her. She added value, but that's her takeaway. You know, I don't know if my son will ever want to leave. I mean, that's just, uh, and it's just the dynamics of who they are and what this organization offers.
Yeah, and I think you really hit on a good point about how much growth is available to somebody who begins to work in a new environment, and that has to do with how to communicate and get along with other people, et cetera. And that sort of ties back into this warm and lovely email, Lori, that you sent to John and to myself after one of the podcast episodes where we reviewed the book Multipliers, and we talked a lot about that book and some of the great lessons there. And you had mentioned that you had pulled a couple lessons out of that book and that review as well. But you also mentioned how fulfilled you were as a parent to see your daughter Caroline thrive in our environment, in our world. So maybe before Lori, I hear from you, Caroline. Do you want to sort of set it up about tell us about when you started here and what you've been doing so that you can then maybe ask your mom a question or two.
I love my mom a lot, but I think the reason I love my relationship with my mom is growing up, we fought a lot, right? And I think that changed a bit when I went to college because I don't want to claim that college is the real world, but that was kind of my first taste of, not being coddled at home and having mom do my laundry for me and cook all my meals and all that. And and then when I started at Arcamed, I think that was like my first taste of real responsibility. And so of course my mom got to see me navigate that, and she definitely fielded a lot of anxious calls for me. I'm sure John and Greg, you can imagine like whether I ordered a decal with like a word misspelled or I
I
I like
remember that.
yeah, so there's been a lot of missteps that my mom got to field some calls for me. So I guess hopefully those have changed a little bit, and those, I think you still get an anxious call from time to time, but hopefully they're fewer and maybe about more substantial things than misspelled decals. But I think I went from, a marketing intern that was in the office 10 hours a week to a full-time marketing person to now primarily in HR. And I'm curious, mom, like how you've seen me change through Archimed. And I also like you can be honest. So if there are things that it doesn't have to all be positive. And I'm curious from your perspective, like how I've developed.
Yeah. Well, I, I know you asked me the question about have you changed. I don't know that you've changed as much because you came into this world with a very strong will. And so where John, you're talking about like your kids and not sure what they're going to do. Caroline was pretty much, I'm going to be in business. And our son used to say, yes, she's probably going to support all of us at some point because we just saw it in her. She was just that determined. And so her path to Archimed didn't really surprise me, but I could tell that Arcamed as a company was embracing her and embracing that strong will and embracing everything she had to offer, but maybe like softening some edges that were. I used to worry. She used to repeat conversations she would have with you, John, and I'd be like, Caroline, you might get fired. So it's funny because what I've seen in growth is just like um, you provide this beautiful framework and this leadership training, which I hear so much about. that I just watched like traits that were so strong for Caroline and always have been from day one just get put to use, and gives her a framework and a structure to work within and to manage that. Because she's right, we did fight a lot when she was growing up. We were always butting heads because she knew what she wanted and that was it. And so working for you guys, she can still have that strong will, but you've just given her these amazing tools. And so that's what I see. Like, I hear like our conversations are different just because she's got more to think about before she says, something important. She knows how to phrase it, or she's been given some really great tools. So I think Jim and my husband, would both say the same thing. It's been so much fun to watch. And I guess since we've worked our whole lives, um, you don't often find companies that do that for their employees. I didn't have it. I've been in some kind of dysfunctional environments, and so it's amazing. I just can't tell you how much I love what you guys do for your employees, and like you said, it's for all of them, and it's an amazing thing to hear about, which is why I listen to every podcast
Yeah,
episode.
she's
Well,
like
we
our one
always,
listener we can count on.
I
yeah, we
do.
always appreciate our loyal listeners.
I do. But like the multipliers one, the reason I really emailed was because it hit me hard. I think, John, in that one podcast series or episode about the happiness factor, and you had said like there was a situation with Dom and something in that book kind of hit you in the face. Well, that was I had to smile because that's what happened to me when I heard the multipliers episode. It was like, oh, was I a diminisher as a mom? Like it just makes you think. So I love it that when I listen to these episodes, they can be applied to life outside of work. And Caroline's just benefiting from all of this. It's amazing, just amazing.
I think as an owner, and John, I think would agree with me that that's just sort of what we want to hear from the family of employees, because that's the return that we get. It's the altruistic return, but we also get a business return. So Caroline, through the investment, has grown into somebody of real confidence in a position, and has a outsized impact because she touches the employee experience, and because that's our biggest asset. So
Mhm.
we do it because, and I love it when there's this confluence, but we do it because it's the right thing to do and it's good business. So I want to shift to John then. John, you've heard Lori's thoughts about Caroline's growth over the last 5 years or so, and what is your perspective? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I've only known Caroline for the last 5 years, but there was no doubt from the first time that we interviewed her that she's not someone you put in a box. She has no desire to be in a box. She has no desire to be labeled as this is all she's capable of. And for me, that's what's exciting, right? Because when you can add people to your organization that already have that mindset, it's strong. And the biggest changes I've seen is, and Caroline talked about even as the relationship changed when she went away to colleges, and I continue to see this is that level of independence, right? Like I am me, I am going to be who I am, and if you don't like it, that's fine. That's okay with me. You can have your opinion,
Right.
but behind the independence and that strong will is a very very high level of caring and and attention to detail and making sure that what people need, whether it's family, whether it's people at Arcamed, whether it's people she reports to, it's important to her to make sure people get what they need. um, the biggest change I've seen is the lack of need of approval. She the through the confidence has diminished just making people happy and getting that approval from them. That's a huge maturity step professionally, as well as personally, and there's been huge strides there. And she's open to defining her path. A lot of people come out of school. Caroline deals with a lot of our interns who are dead set. This is what I'm going to do. This is who I'm going to be. This is the job I have to have. And she's always come into it with the challenge of an open mindset. I think that's through a mutual respect that her and I have developed. We talk through things, and the first thing that I usually start with, knowing how she processes things, is this is I think you can be good at this, and this is why. And when I start it with that, the mindset automatically goes to, well, you're probably right. I haven't thought about that, but um, let's give it a shot.
Right.
Let's see what happens. And it's, don't be afraid to fail. You're not going to get everything right. Things are going to go wrong, but it's that willingness that I've seen over the last 5 years to just broaden and learn. And I think Lori touched on it, is that learn, because you have to know all aspects of the business to really understand how a business functions and how to be a valued member of that. I think that some of that came out in the podcast you did with your father when he talked about, the how you grew up, that every decision has a consequence, every answer has a
Right.
consequence. So you've never been afraid to say no, or never been afraid to say, oh, okay, and or I'll try that. And I think last but not least is your ability to let things go. You used to be a person that held on to a lot, needed to be high control of a lot of things. Um, but you've been able to prioritize those things that you have to keep control of, and you have a greater ability to kind of let things go. Um, I know that's a lot of what you and I talk about when we meet. Like, you gotta let that go. You gotta don't let that wear on you. Um, it's Caroline defines what we look for in an Arcamed employee, but the reverse of that is that that's the reason why she's still here. There are a lot of people that have not met that requirement, right? And it's not always rainbows and unicorns, right? It's This culture is not for everybody. Some people like to be put in a box. They like to know, this is exactly what I'm being asked to do. This is what I have to get done this day, this week, this month. And Archimed does not afford that sort of opportunity. That we want someone that doesn't like to be in that box, and that's a strength, but it's for a smaller percentage. And most manufacturing environments are cookie cutter. They're This is my box. This is the role I play. This is what I'm supposed to do. Um, and the growth over the last 5 years, the addition or of the acquisition of another company, onboarding a different culture, going through all of that. I mean, I don't know if she could have asked for a better experience over a 5 year period.
Right.
Uh,
Right. I
some of
think
it may have turned her a little bit gray through the process, but hopefully not.
for
But
me,
there isn't much more we could have thrown at her from a challenge perspective.
right. Yeah. I think Jim and I know she used to come to us and, well, we're doing this now. And we'd be like, oh, that's a big thing, Caroline. But you guys were there and supported her, and she just took it on. But I will say that that's a lot of your personality, Caroline, is you like to just take a problem head on and go with it. So yeah, it's fun to watch. It's the older your children get, let me tell you, the more gratifying it is to see who they become. Like, I just pray every day, please let my kids be good adults. And I mean, it's amazing to watch it and see it, and it just feels so good. but I know you guys are a big part of why she's where she is, and why she's at this point in her career. Yeah, it's a great thing to watch as a mom.
Well, I'm looking forward to that stage. My kids are younger, but Lori, I wanted to touch back on a comment you made about what triggered that email, and the
Mhm.
multipliers podcast episode spoke to you because you were curious. Was I a diminisher as a parent? You said,
Right.
and I was thinking about my role as a parent and how sometimes you give your kids space, but sometimes you see traits in them that can go either way, right? So that stubbornness can be stick to itiveness when they get older, and traits like um, arrogance, if it's tempered, can be a healthy amount of confidence as they get older. So when you thought back and you said maybe I was a diminisher for this period or that period, then you see Caroline today. Do you see some of those traits that have blossomed into productive aspects of Caroline's personality
Oh, for
in life?
sure. When she was like 2 years old, I had a conversation with a friend and I just said, she's so difficult sometimes. And my friend said, no, she's not difficult. She's very strong willed, and this will serve her well. And so she had a different personality than our older two kids. And it was just different for me to parent, this child that had this mind of her own. And I mean, she really did. So, um, my friend was so right. She said, like, that as soon as she can temper it, it's going to serve her so well. And that's just what we see right now. And I think when I thought about that podcast, the multipliers and diminishers, I'd say there were probably instances, yes, when I was a diminisher, but probably because maybe I had to be as a mother. Maybe I just, had to um, teach a lesson in some way that um, it's just what I had to do at the time. But it it made me just think to myself that even now, as I parent our kids, because I guess I feel like I will always be their mom, and so there's always something for me to help them with. I can approach things in a different way because they're different and I'm different, and I don't have the pressures I had when they were in our house and going through teenage things. So I think there were instances for sure that I probably did not handle things in the most productive way, but I probably just felt like I had to at the moment. You're a parent and that's what you do.
Well, I think you are illustrating to your kid here that you're a human, and
Right. Yes.
we all discover that our parents are human at some point in our lives. Usually after we leave, and we realize, we sort of wake up in the middle of the night and go, "Oh my!" Slap our head and say, "Oh my gosh, my mom and dad were right." But
Right.
it does take a minute and some distance before you can
Yes.
reach that conclusion.
We do hear from our kids like, "Oh my God, I sound just like you. I can't believe it." They've all said
I'm
it
sure
to
they
us.
mean that as a compliment. I'm sure.
Well, I don't know. I think they're like, "Oh my God." I think it's a little bit of they're a little shocked by it. Like, "Oh, I sound just like you, don't I?" And it's like, "Yeah, you might." And I did the same thing with my mom, you know, but it's just part of growing as a parent and growing your kids growing up and all that good stuff. But the multipliers podcast, it just made me think and reflect, like, how was I as a mother? Did I always do it right? And you never always do it right, and I understand that, but it was just nice. It was good. It was a good moment of self-reflection, I guess. So
Well, the good
yes.
news is you're still a mother.
I'm still
So,
a mom.
and
And
and you'll continue to be. And
yes.
uh and,
And
and the good we all need that level of self-reflection, right? I mean,
right.
it's valuable, right?
It is valuable, but you
It,
guys were also in that episode reflecting on your own management styles. And so
absolutely.
I found it like you don't always hear that kind of honest self-reflection these days. You just we're all of different generations, but like at our core, it's like a healthy thing to do. And I was really just so impressed at how honest you guys were about your own leadership styles. Um, and like I said, it all translates to your employees because they see it and they feel it and they've learned something and then they grow from it. So
Absolutely.
it's an amazing, yeah, it's just an amazing thing to watch from my
It
viewpoint.
just, I got a little scared a minute ago that you mentioned that this Caroline we deal with is tempered.
Tempered.
So
I can
I
tell
can only
you,
imagine what that was like for you then
I can tell
in
you
the
some
earlier
stories.
years.
That's so funny.
If this is tempered, wow, I can't even imagine what you went through.
She, well, I mean,
Well,
she
I
wasn't
would
bad, but she was definitely challenged sometimes, right? Would you say that, Caroline?
Yeah, no, I think it was pretty clear that I was challenging to deal with growing up.
Yes, you were. But it not, I mean, our,
Still challenging.
Sorry, yeah,
Still,
I shouldn't have put that
okay, okay.
modifier on there. I am challenging to deal with.
I don't think I heard mom say you're no longer
You're
challenging to.
right. No, you're right.
no, but then I wouldn't know you if you didn't, if you changed that much. So it's all good. It's all good.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
mom, we talked recently with a guest. Her name's Lindsay, and she deals a lot with like generational differences, right? And why they come about and how we can communicate across them.
Right.
And we've learned really, it's not so much about the time period in which you were born, but how you were raised and things that happened to you in your childhood and things like how you eat dinner. Like, did you eat dinner sitting down together? Did you kind of eat dinner on the fly? Or like how were you disciplined as a child? Things like this really impact how we relate, especially to authority figures when we grow up and how we interact with people in the workplace. Um, is this I mean, I guess maybe you did, but, like, I feel like you and dad weren't necessarily thinking that through, like, all the whole way to, like, workplace, behavior when you were raising us. But do you think were there things, like, you purposefully instilled in us as children that, like, you see us using today? Or, like, how much thought did you put into those types of things?
Um, hmm. I don't want to, well, we did think about those kinds of things. We both, your dad and I both had strong feelings about a strong work ethic. So you all had jobs in high school because we thought you needed to know what it was like to earn money and to pay taxes and to interact with people and learn those kinds of skills. So we did do that. We usually did sit down to dinner together, which I think that was just because that's what our parents did with us. And it just kept us connected as a family, and we knew that. So, we made sure that we were eating dinner together when we were, most evenings, I would say, until, life gets in the way. But we did think about those things. And I would like to think most parents do instill like work ethic and moral compasses in their kids. And I can't say that I thought, well, this will serve her well at work. It was more like as a person, we need our children to have these, to make these things important in their life. So, working hard to get what you want is important, whether it's at work or with your friends or your family or whatever. So, I don't know that I thought about it, like I said, in terms of your work experience, although that was always a big part of my life and dad's life was working. So we knew it would serve you well, but I think we just wanted this complete person with good core values, I guess. So I don't know if that, that I know there's specific things I did and dad did that probably impact you at work. Like I'm the organized, I'm very organized. Dad's very detail oriented. I'm a task person. I like to get my tasks done. Dad likes to like take his time and get to where he's going in his own way. So, you're a combination of us with those kinds of things.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's a good way of putting it, and as you were listing those things, I feel like, like, John makes fun of me because I need to have, like, my to-do list written out, and I like to have things crossed off, and when they're not crossed off, that's when I get anxious, or when my to-do list gets long, I get all messed up. Um, but I also feel like I like to do things my own way, and I probably got some of that from dad, so I know I got some good stuff from both of you. This entire conversation, while I appreciate all of the nice things you had to say for me, was one of the more uncomfortable experiences of my life. So hopefully we won't do this specific conversation again, or like somebody else could be in the hot seat. But um,
Hey,
but
it's all for the good. It's all for the
I
good
know
of the greater good of the company, Caroline, right? And you're very loyal.
anything for the company.
Yes, and you're very loyal. I think we're all very loyal to Arcamed because we just love watching your experience there.
And the point here is that uh, a strong company culture over a period of years can have a positive impact on the growth and development of an individual that even an out of state parent notices and sees. That's how
Absolutely.
powerful what we're
Yes.
doing can be. And I really
Right.
wanted our listeners to appreciate that aspect and that power of company culture.
Yeah. But it does, just so you all know, like it's translating into life outside of work as well. So, like, you're doing this for your work culture and everything, but I'm guessing that most of your employees are taking things home and thinking about the way a situation was handled. It would be a natural extension, I believe. So I think it's actually more powerful than you guys give yourselves credit for. So
Well, that would be great. Well, Lori and John, thank you for coming on to talk about how company culture impacts people and how it shows up outside of work, and Lori, how you have been proud of the young woman that Caroline has become since she's
yes.
broadened her scope and left the nest, so to speak. And we're just so thrilled to get that email from you and to have you on the show today. And thrilled even more to work with Caroline and John. Thanks for also coming on and sharing your perspective and for your investment in Caroline and all the employees, not just Dom and Julia, but everybody that walks in this door gets development from John. So thanks, guys. I appreciate your time today.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Stay safe, everybody.
So this was a really gratifying episode to me because as an owner, I don't have visibility really into the legs our culture has in someone's life, and I was thrilled to see to learn first from John and then from Lori that our company culture has a positive impact on how employees live out their lives outside of our walls.
Yeah, this is something that, I feel very lucky to be part of this team and I feel a positive impact, but it's not something I thought about in these terms. And talking to my mom about it, it really brought to light there, aside from us wanting people to feel comfortable here and feel like they can do their best work here, the things that we do impact people in their entire lives, right? And it brings into perspective, why we put so much care into creating this culture, because it's something that people are going to take home, and if they're feeling like they're in a toxic workplace, they might take that negativity home, and their loved ones are going to notice that as well.
Yeah, and while I'm gratified that we're having a positive impact beyond our walls, it's also a responsibility, right? So
Absolutely.
so your loved ones, as you mentioned, you could be a better or worse spouse or parent or son or daughter based on how your work life goes. We spend so much time in our work environment that it can't but help to impact you in some manner. And if you are unhappy, mistreated, come home angry, lack fulfillment, that's got to have a negative impact on how you interact with your loved ones.
Yeah, and my mom talked a little bit about how she's seeing development in me throughout my time here. Part of that I think is because, I started here when I was in college. And so there's just a lot of development going on, hopefully, in those years to begin with. But, my mom and I fought a lot growing up because I was kind of just, I feel like her problem child where I had strong opinions and I didn't want to just do something because I was told to and all of that fun parenting stuff. And I think she's seeing me at least learn how to communicate where I'm coming from better while I've been here and learning how to have that communication piece of my viewpoint, and that's been really big impact. Um, outside of Archimed for sure, but definitely within.
Yeah, and it's nice to have uh, fulfillment in your life, and it gives you a little bit of confidence, a little bit of a boost. I know that when I have days where the company culture has had a positive impact on me, whether I'm interacting with an employee in a certain way or providing something or announcing a bonus or who knows what it is, um, that has legs. I feel pretty good for quite a while after those positive cultural experiences.
Yeah, and I think one thing I want to stress is, my story is not unique when it comes to Archimed, and we have so many people that we get to watch develop while they're here. Some of my favorite employees to bring in are high school students, and often they're studying something similar in high school when they come here, and it's so cool to watch them develop really the soft skills, especially because I'm typically the one interviewing them, right? And it's fun to see, them often they're nervous or don't want to answer a question or don't know how to answer a question. And once they've been in a work atmosphere for a couple of months, you can see them start to open up and learn how to communicate things. And that is so fulfilling, and hopefully, their families see it at home. I haven't asked them, but maybe I should go ask them after this. Um, but yeah, you get to see it across the board, and that's just so cool to me.
Yeah, and John's kids, were, I think Dom started when he was still in high school. I can't
Yeah, he
remember
did.
now.
Yeah.
And of course they worked on breaks and et cetera through their current college experiences. And John mentioned that they really figured out a lot about what their worldview was and what their likes were and their dislikes. And I thought that was really cool. I mean, if it's not that they want to spend their life working at Archimed, that what we can impart on our younger employees is a clearer picture on who they want to be, what kind of person they want to be, and what kind of person do they not want to be, and what work environment's important to them. And I think that's really awesome to aid in someone's effort to form a worldview and what's important and not. That's pretty cool.
Well, yeah, and I've gotten to work with both of John's kids, and it's been really fun because I knew them before they started working at Arcmed. And I think John mentioned his son Dom is somebody who we don't know if he'll ever leave, but we love having him while he's here. And I know, I've heard from his team, they are not a team that will just say this employee is doing a great job just because they're the CEO's son. Like, believe me, they are an honest team, and they love having him, and they're always a little sad when he has to go back to school. And I think to watch him figure out that he actually loves this work is really cool. And then Julia, I think she learned a lot about what she did not want working here, and that's super valuable too. And we enjoyed having her while she was here, but I think Julia is somebody who really wants to be around a lot of people and interacting with people constantly. And so she got to learn, this what she was doing here was not for her. But that's just as valuable. And I think it's fun to watch them develop and turn to the humans that they're going to be. And it's fun, listening to John talk about it too, because he has to balance that, dad versus manager role, which I think he does pretty well.
I do too. Well, this was fun. I enjoyed having John on. I enjoyed having your mom Lori on, and I know you were cringing a little bit in anticipation of this, but I thought it was great.
Yeah, it was I guess it was fun. I'll leave it at that. In our next episode, we will be taking on the label of family culture. This is such a hot topic, but we just want to know how to label it. Is it a team? Is it a family? Is it a community? We're going to find out.